lovers of all music, hard and heavy, welcome back to Wheels of Mercury. I'm Calvin, and I'm going to tell you all about all the metal releases I've loved over the summer of 2021, plus 5 non-metal releases that I've loved as well. I'm sure you guys are wondering where I have been over the past few months, why I haven't uploaded on Saturdays at 11 Eastern Standard Time like I said I would. There's a few reasons for that, but I'll save all of them for the end of this video, so stay tuned. Before I get into this list, be sure to click on the thumbs up button and subscribe with that bell set to all. It helps to get my channel out there to YouTube via something called an algorithm. If you've done that already, thank you for the support. Now let's get on to the list. First off, we've got the debut demo from Silent Thunder entitled Usurping the Hall of Might and Splendor, released May 28th independently on Bandcamp. This is the first demo from Lamp of Murmur's side project. If you guys remember Lamp of Murmur from my 2020 list, I put it at, I think it was number 7 on my 2020 list. It was the only black metal album on that list, I think. I could be wrong. This demo comes with 2 tracks. The first being the atmospheric black metal track, Forgotten Celebrations from the Saturnian Throat, and the second being a synth-based ambient cut with a very, very long name that I just put down here, so I don't have to say it all I want. It's just very run-on sentence. Compared to Lamp of Murmur, this is a little more pretty without losing all the ferociousness that made and more successful projects shine. Still very much black metal, but more in the vein of like Dark Space than anything from Darkthrone or Immortal. The ambient track owes a lot to the Dungeon Synth microgenre, especially the progenitors of the style in the mid to late 1990s, such as Depressive Silence or the tragically departed Secret Stairway. All I can say in conclusion is that you've killed it again. Next up is The Alchemist's Curse by the US raw black metal band Durga, released June 2nd. This is the debut demo from this American black metal duo and the first of 2 releases to come out in 2021. It's raw, cold, straightforward, almost reminds me of a more condensed version of Paysage to eBay. Just switch up the winter themes and replace them for vampires. There is a consistently dark theme running through all the 4 tracks on here, which are given Roman numerals, by the way, because it wouldn't be black metal without a no track name. I actually stumbled across this demo in a later EP on the Order of the Black Earth YouTube channel. Shout out to them. They have some awesome stuff on there. They upload all sorts of raw underground stuff to their channel. So if you're into that, check them out. I'll leave a link down in the description. And they also subscribe to my channel, so thank you for that. Next up is Arrows and Words Across the Sky EP by Machine Head, released on June 11th. This is the first release from Rob Flynn and Company since the politically charged Civil Unrest EP released at the height of the Black Lives Matter movement last year. The first track, Become the Firestorm, starts things right away with a bang with some furious blast beats from the former drummer of Devilment, Matt Alton, and a pretty rising chorus from Rob Flynn. Second track, Rotten, evokes that same feelings and energy I felt listening to songs off of their late 2000s classic, The Blackening, which can only be a good thing, as they hadn't made anything really close to that since Bloodstones and Diamonds from 2014, in my opinion. I'm not going to even mention what they made past Bloodstones and Diamonds up until this EP. It was pretty rough, guys. I'm not going to lie. The self-titled track is a radio song perfect for serious XM liquid metal. Just a simmered down version of the sound. It's not like Darkness Within from their 2011 record onto the Locust, but it's still decent. An all-around good teaser for the 10th Machine Head album. The next release I want to talk about is Sisyphus by the German one-man black metal crew Leopard, released on June 25th. This is a new project from a German musician behind Fiber. If you subscribe to my channel, was one of my picks for my top winter and spring albums of 2021. This time though, the guy's album is not focused on World War I, but it's focused on his mental health struggles with depression and anxiety. The songs are actually some of the catchiest metal songs that I've heard all year. The opening title track has this call and response refrain that have been stuck in my head from the first moment that I've ever heard it. It's all in German, but don't let that deter you from checking this thing out. The guy behind this project has hit the ball at the freaking park once again in 2021. And I am feverishly awaiting whatever home kick project he would have coming down the pipe. This guy is seriously a talent to keep an eye on, in my humble opinion. He has all the talent in the world and not enough exposure. Check it out. Next up is Eternal Hail by Darkthrone, released on June 25th via Peaceville Records. Oh, this is going to be a doozy. The 18th studio album from the Norwegian legends he still remember Fenris and Nocturnal Culto, diving more into the doom metal sound that was on their 2019 release Old Star. This thing, in comparison to Old Star, is a raw, colder effort and it's just around fun to listen to. The production, in my opinion, reminds me of the raw job on Manila Road's cult classic 1983 album Crystal Logic. The drums are up in front, and they have that weird flatness to them that adds the retro charm to the LP, in my opinion. This is an all-around fun listen to crack a few beers to and nerd out about metal. Just don't go in expecting a blazing sky or Transylvanian hunger or any of that stuff, because those days are very, very long gone. I think Fenris and Nocturnal would like to move on from that. Let's just say that. Stay metal, Fenris and Nocturnal. Keep it alive. Next up is the second release from Zogan entitled Prolonging the Archaic Slumber, released July 1st. This is the second release, as I just said, from Zogan, and it pretty much picks up where the first one left off. If you like the first one, which I talked about earlier, you're gonna like the second one. Guaranteed. It's just more of that straightforward rawness and haunting vampiric atmosphere over 17 more minutes. There's not really much else to say other than what I just said. So, you pretty much got meat and potatoes black metal with a freaking synth introduction. Like, what more can you want? Next up is Consolamentum by the French band Year of No Light, released July 2nd. The newest LP from the instrumental sludge metal band is an apocalyptic firestorm of a statement, all without saying one word. The guitars are very, very stupid heavy, and the band is tight and just all around talented. However, they don't forget to balance this out with some quieter moments here and there. The result of this, to me, actually gives off the same vibes as Inter Arma's 2019 opus Sulphur English. It's gargantuan, epic and harrowing in scope, but it's worth repeat listens to fully soak it in. This is not a one-listen album, folks. You need to sit time with it. It could be tied with Cloud Kicker's album from earlier this year for my favorite instrumental record of 2021. We'll see how that holds up in December. But for now, that's where I stand with this thing. Next up, we've got Collapse by the Californian post-metal band Misa. The debut studio album from Misa is an incredibly dynamic and superbly produced album focused around the themes of societal collapse from climate change. I found out about this thing thanks to the lovely people over at the Anti-Fascist Black Metal Network. They are a recently formed YouTube channel that aims to strip away all of the harmful ideologies that have unfortunately plagued the black metal subgenre since the 1990s by focusing on bands that are anti-racist, anti-fascist, and therefore against bigotry of any kind. That's great to know. I will leave a link to them in the description. You guys better check this out if you don't really want to deal with all the crap of all the legendary bands out there. I actually hear a kind of influence in this Misa album from Neurosis, sliced up with a bit of Death Heaven's old blackface stuff as well. The fourth track, entitled A Final Snowfall of the Dawn of Man Flickers, a evocative title, is a beautiful instrumental that is haunting as all hell. Very reminiscent of interludes and intros from Panopticon, actually. Just an all-around great debut from a band that should be on more people's lips than they are currently. Seriously, check this thing out. Next up is Colossum from Slaughter to Prevail, released August 13th. Sorry, Lorna Shore, this is my favorite deathcore release of the year so far. It is such a freaking fun album. Tons of new metal influences throughout, especially from Slipknot, early Mudvayne, and even a tad of Deftones on the clean singing department on one song. Vocalist Alex Terrible is an insane talent as far as unclean vocals is considered. He also has a knack for those fast rock-like flows that are so up my freaking alley. And that demonic Russian incantation before the breakdown in the second track and popular singer Demolisher, holy shit. It's one of the freaking greatest moments I've ever heard in a deathcore song in my life. This is an amazingly fun record. Sure, the master gimmicky, and maybe, it's a bit of a homage to Slipknot, but that's a non-issue in my book. And, the lyrics are severely hampered by the guy not having English as his first language, but whatever, who cares? Some of my favorite bands have crappy lyrics too. Lorna Shore's EP, that was good, don't get me wrong, but it all chalked down to what I spent my teenage years listening to. And in the early years of that era, say around 14, 15 years old, I was listening to new metal. I really couldn't gravitate towards the more symphonic black metal like Dimmu Borgir and all that Lorna Shore is influenced by. Which is why Alex Terrible and his gang wins this round. The final metal record I want to talk about is Primordial Arcana by Wolves in the Throne Room, released August 20th. This is actually my first full-length venture into a Wolves in the Throne Room LP, and it was pretty amazing. I had heard of these guys for so long, and I'd never gotten into them per se. Even when I was like 14, 15, I've heard of them, but I never really got into them, which is surprising. This LP is amazing. It's full of references to Celtic folklore and nature. They do their blend of atmospheric black metal superbly well with amazing hi-fi production and a killer aesthetic for their lyrics. The way these keyboards in the band are used on the record almost recalls the work that frequently come out of the Dungeon Synth microgenre once again. Especially reminded me of All Souls and Fog Weaver, just without the fantasy theme. Their usage of silence and the tension around it is masterful, helping to elevate the mystical atmosphere of the LP. The drums, in particular, are amazingly produced. One of the best drumming I've heard on a metal album in quite some time. If you like a musical landscape of forest and long-forgotten ancient secrets, pick this up. And I think this record is going to be the perfect record for autumn. Hello there, Jacketless Calvin from the future also wanted to tell you about the new
Finneas record, The Fire itself. Highly recommended if you like metalcore like August Burns Red and Avale Dying, and also the new Discord record. If you like technical death metal like Atheist and stuff like that, definitely give it a whirl.
Now on to the 5 non-metal releases that I loved in the summer of 2021. So here we go. I Lie Here Buried with My Rings and My Dresses by the Canadian rapper Backwash, released June 20th. The second album by Backwash is a freaking tour de force of metal influence and industrial tinged rap that details the horrors and traumas associated with her struggle with gender identity as a trans woman in stark detail, coupled with some killer features from Ada Rook and Black Dresses and others. This is an extremely harrowing listen, yet it's one of the best I've ever heard outside of metal. Highly recommended for folks that want some new metal in their hip hop. The Turning Wheel by Spelling, released on June 25th. Amazing, amazing, amazing record full of Kate Bush vibes, yet it's its own thing at the same time. This thing is destined to become a modern classic. I'm not saying that just because Fantano gave it a 10. I actually discovered it before Fantano gave it a 10. Call me a hipster. Below by Beartooth, released June 25th on Red Bull Records. I've never called Beartooth a metal band, despite having some metal influences in their sound and songwriting. Regardless, their newest album is great from start to finish, and it's the band's best batch of songs since the 2014 debut. Give it a whirl if you like punk and rock and roll. Infinite Granite by Death Heaven, released on August 20th. My first of the 2 non-metal records from usually heavier bands that I'm mentioning is the latest from the Californian band. This is the band's first pivot into almost full-on post-rock and shoegaze, showing a refreshing and nuanced take on the softer sides of their sound. For a guy that did not even sing that much before this album, George Clark has a surprisingly good singing voice. In a way, it sort of reminds me of how Oliver Sykes of Bring Me the Horizon fame started to sing on 2013's Vampire Eternal. The record is lush and beautiful, with full of twinkling melodies and shimmering synths. However, they still threw a few bones out to please the Black Gaze fans. The double kick near the end of Lament for Ross and the pivot back to the old Black Gaze sound in the closing track Mombasa comes to mind. For those who were turned off by the screaming and Sunbather and New Bermuda and also Road to Judah, this will be a great entry point into the universe of Death Heaven. If you're one of those people who like the Black Gate stuff, however, throw those thoughts of blast beats and screams out the window and listen to this with an open mind. I promise, you'll be impressed. And finally, Aphelion by the Norwegian progressive rock and ex-metal band Leopard, released on August 27th. This Norwegian quintet are one of the most talented bands going. They are masters of music theory, finding interesting ways of approaching drums and weird time signatures. They started out as a progressive metal band and gradually shifted towards progressive and art rock, all without losing their knack for inventive song structures. The new album continues that streak of great releases and also pushes their already unique sound into new territory, embracing stuff like dark wave and even a brass and horn section on some songs. The last track, Nighttime Disguise, is the only metal song on here, bringing back the screams that the singer would occasionally pepper their sound during the pre-2017 era. Speaking of the singer, his name is Einar Solberg, and he is one of the best freaking vocals to come outside of the metal scene in years. This guy's voice sends shivers down my spine. I am not joking you. He is an amazing singer, and I don't get why this band is so underrated, especially in North America. They are an amazing group, and they're one of my favorite bands. Unfortunately, though, when I saw him in Toronto, he was very sick and he couldn't sing. That's a story for another time, though. They're super unknown in North America. Go listen to them. Go listen to them! Alright, so why did I fail to deliver on my promise to put out videos every Saturday a few months back? Well, my ADHD would be the answer. I have a hard time committing to projects once I start them. And there's been many a time in the past where I've deleted stuff I would make because it wasn't good enough, which is kind of stupid, right? I was pretty young and dumb back then. But this narrow attention span of mine, it helped me to realize that I don't really like adhering to a set posting and uploading schedule, despite what the algorithm on this site may demand to keep creators and their work relevant, which means that I am going to upload whenever I feel like it, without pressure. That's why I changed the channel's bio recently. I hope you guys understand. Rock on, guys, and I'll see you in the next video.